My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Hey, welcome back. Chances are, if you've been listening to the show for a while, you've heard about this term of flex industrial space, but you might not know exactly what it is. Well, today we've got an expert on that topic, zooming in from beautiful Fairhope, Alabama, which I haven't had the pleasure of visiting yet, but sounds like a lovely place. We've got Grant Reaves, and Grant is one of the team members in a very interesting company. I love the name of your company, Stoic Equity Partners. So, Grant, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me today.
So, Grant, give us a little snapshot of Stoic. What is it that you guys do? What is this whole flex industrial thing? Why did you guys gravitate towards that? Because I know you've done some stuff in self-storage before as well. So, just give us a snapshot. What are you guys doing and why are you focusing on this?
For sure. So as you mentioned, we started off in self-storage. Jeremy, my business partner, who I know you spoken with before. We started doing self-storage deals in 21, kind of found a hard time being able to get a foothold in that market just coming through COVID. Self-storage was just so hot and heavy, as everyone knows, especially in the Southeast where we play. And so we started really looking at supply and demand metrics and trying to figure out, what's the undersupplied asset class that they're not building any of. And we kind of always knew that the flex industrial space, the smaller office warehouse space, not a whole lot of that has been built. You talk to many brokers throughout the Southeast, it was kind of the same story of like, we need more flex space. We need more flex space. And so started looking harder and harder in that in 22 and quickly found that you can't really build the space. That was kind of our first angle. It's like, well, maybe we can go start building flex. So, because we like the idea of that. But in most of the markets we looked at, rental rates are maybe $8 to $12 usually is what we see throughout our portfolio. For today's construction prices and land costs, you're going to need to be 15 to $18 a square foot. So there's a pretty large gap there that prohibits new construction, and that's why you don't see any new supply, right? But if you could go in and buy stuff for well below replacement costs that maybe has under market rents, and you'd be able to push those to market, it's kind of the success that you've seen in the C2B multifamily space, right? Like that space has done really well, kind of doing a similar strategy, and it's kind of the same thing. And so, we started chasing it in 22, really learning the asset class, started investing in it. And I guess just about 24 months ago now. And we've bought about 1 million square feet so far of the asset class, and hopefully buy a few more million square feet. It's good space. We've had a really great time with it.
Oh, that is awesome, Grant. So give us, for folks that aren't familiar and can't quite get their head around it, what does flex industrial look like? What kind of companies are in these kind of places? What do you like most about this asset class, besides that you're able to get it at a discount compared to building it?
For sure. And no one can come in on top of you. So really the biggest thing is like when everyone says industrial real estate, they mainly think of what we would call more distribution center, bulk warehousing kind of space, right? So this is going to be, Amazon, Walmart distribution center, like you're huge, nice, and those are awesome. Those are cool. And maybe one day we'll be that cool. But today we do flex industrial. So those kind of buildings, like the traditional industrial, are going to be say 200 to 500,000 square feet. They have 1 to 3 tenants in them. Really high clear height, very nice, very new. There has been a lot of that supply come in. The flex world is located more in industrial parks near that, but it's more of your business park kind of setup. So it's office warehouse suite. So like our typical buy box is going to be a 50,000 to 150,000 square foot building that's made up of individual suites of say 25 to 7,500 square feet per suite. And each individual suite, like say a 5,000 square foot suite, will have, call it 2,000 square feet of office, 3,000 square feet of warehouse. And it's very flexible. It's where the flex name comes from. And so you have a really diverse group of tenants out there. So we have a lot of home services businesses. So like Terminex is a big tenant and quite a few of ours. Some engineering groups that need to be able to have lab space to do like, soil testing, that kind of stuff, but also need to be able to have a place for the engineers to work on computers. And so it's really diverse. And so we also have some like e-commerce is a new thing that we've seen in some of our facilities where, like for instance, we have a tenant in Mississippi that is an online women's boutique. So they sell like a lot of women's clothes on Instagram and Facebook and that kind of thing. And they're essentially taking pictures in the warehouse and have a little studio back there, and then they just ship them right out of this little office
So
warehouse.
they got all their inventory in there.
Yeah.
That's
And
where.
it's super
Okay.
easy for them. And so they don't have to pay high retail prices, right? So they're paying us, I think, 10, $11 a square foot. If they were paying for retail, it'd be, $25, $30 a square foot. So, but for them, they don't care if they're in the back of a business
Yeah.
park. They're not doing any walk-in traffic. It's all online. So why not? And so kind of the reasons we like it, besides the supply and demand piece of it and just being able to buy it really low to replacement costs, as I mentioned, it's also prohibitive to build new supply currently. So we are able to really push rents because of the fact that
Mm.
demand continues to grow and supply is staying constant, right? So that's just our good old econ 101 lessons there. But the
Yeah.
other reasons is that they're multi-tenant. So a lot of our facilities will have 20, 30 tenants throughout. So it kind of has the same vacancy risk as a multifamily or self-storage deal, where if you have a couple of tenants leave, it's not the end of the world. If you're doing big box industrial, you have your one tenant leave, then you're negatively cash flowing hundreds of thousands of dollars debt service. We're able to continue to cash flow even with some vacancies, and you can kind of stagger them throughout. So it's not that bad on the
Mhm.
vacancy side. And then outside of that, it's mainly if you need a good portion of your workspace to be warehouse, you can't go work over Zoom. I mean, obviously, everyone's seen what's going on with traditional office space. And while we do have office components to our buildings, if you need, like I said, 60, 70% of your workspace to be warehouse, you can't, you know, you got to have a physical location. So we don't really see the
Right.
vacancy issues that the work from home cause throughout the office space, which is nice.
Very, very cool. Yeah. So I see the appeal. The other appeal I would guess from your standpoint compared to commercial residential, for
Mm-hmm.
example, would be that are you renting most of these triple net
Mm-hmm.
or
So
how
really,
so
most of them triple net, so you can pass through. Obviously, insurance has been a huge issue. Property taxes have gone up considerably, so being able to pass that through the tenants, it is something we have to work on a lot. I mean, a lot of people do hear triple net and like, oh, well, who cares? We'll just pass it on to the tenant. But at the same time, there is only so much that a tenant can afford, right?
yeah.
So you do have to watch those. But it is great risk mitigator to be able to pass through those increases over the years for sure.
So Grant, it sounds wonderful. It can't be all sunshine and flowers. There must be a few little not so great sides of this business.
Yeah.
What have you and your partner Jeremy kind of discovered over the years, over the last
So
24
obvious,
months? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, obviously, like any real estate, you always have some sort of surprises on renovations. A lot of times, like, you get a roof report and it says that the roofs are fine. And then you've owned the asset for a year and, all of a sudden a roof's failing that another roof contractor is saying, it's just stuff like that. HVAC's going out, general maintenance stuff, just the same that we always deal with. Right. So,
Yeah.
always want to make sure to over budget reserves because they will be spent. Every time you do a deal and you're like, yeah, well, I think we have plenty of reserves. So you don't have enough reserves. You never, there's always more to be spent. So that's a big part of it. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's mainly just, some maintenance issues kind of stuff. And as you do more and more deals, fortunately, we like to think better and better
Yeah.
at anticipating those issues and able to more accurately reserve. Cause that is one issue that I see some investors make when they first get into the business. They can't make any deals work because they put so much reserves in their models to make sure that they have enough. And it's like, well, eventually your numbers aren't going to work if are reserving $20 a square foot in reserves, so being able to accurately forecast that.
One thing that's really interesting about you and your partner Jeremy is that you come from a real estate background, but I believe both of you guys were commercial real estate brokers, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah, we were.
who who were, kind of helping investors buy these kind of properties.
Mm-hmm.
What made you guys decide to take the leap into being on the other side of the fence yourselves and being active real estate
Yeah.
investors?
I think the biggest thing is, I mean, obviously, if you're running a company like ours, for one, the grass is always greener whenever you're sitting anywhere. It's not always greener. Being on the principal side, it's really hard too. Brokerage is hard. Retail, being on the principal side is hard. It's all hard. But
Yeah.
really, the biggest thing is being able to build more of an organization to be able to have, a team that's all working on assets together and being able to build an organization. Brokerage is great, and it's a great industry, and people have done really well at it. And but for us, we kind of saw it as a little bit more transactional, which it is, right?
Mhm.
And so we kind of like the idea of building a portfolio, building an operation that you weren't rebuilding every year, right? Like in the
Yeah.
transactional business, every year you're trying to, continue to
Every
do more and
month.
more deals. Yeah, every month, every day, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And And so for us, it was able to kind of just be able to, yeah, like I said, build that portfolio out and build up a little bit more of a longer term legacy of an asset, of a company.
Are you guys still involved in the brokerage at all, or have you completely left that side of
We're
it?
not. We totally left that. I mean, Jeremy and I are very obsessive people and very one track minded, which is great, but it also makes us hard to multitask. So what we
Yeah.
found is that if we were doing brokerage, we weren't doing as what we should on Stoic, and vice versa. If we were doing Stoic, we weren't focusing enough on our brokerage, and so it just kind of didn't make sense for us to continue to do both. A lot of people do both, and if you have the ability and the mindset and the systems in place to do both, I think that it was really great to transition doing both for a while. Mainly just because it wasn't like, hey, we have to get this deal done today to make this acquisition fee to be able to feed our families. Like we
Mhm.
had income coming in from the brokerage world, which was nice.
Yeah.
And also we worked mainly in brokerage in different asset class than what we were buying. So there
Oh,
weren't any
okay.
conflicts there. So it was a little bit easier. I mainly did limited service hotel brokerage throughout the country. Jeremy
Interesting.
primarily did triple net retail brokerage. So we were kind of focused on stuff we had experience with, but it wasn't like our day to day. So it wasn't like competing with clients or
Yeah,
any
your
issues
clients
like
weren't
that.
worried that you guys are going to snag a great deal out from under
Yeah,
them.
exactly. We
Hey,
weren't
well,
buying Holiday Inn, so
so I'm interested because, it's a huge leap going from being, like you say, basically a transactional salesperson
mhm.
as a broker into being a principal. How did you guys come up with the capital for those first few deals? Like, how did you just jump right in there?
Yeah, and it's definitely hard to do. We had good co-GPs on our first deals that were able to really help with mainly debt guaranteeing as well. Like if you're doing value add deals, you're probably going to get bank loans, which are going to be full recourse.
Yeah.
And Jeremy and I, neither of us were independently wealthy or anything like that, so we needed help guaranteeing tens of millions of dollars of debt. So fortunately, we had good co-GPs that were able to come in alongside us.
Which probably
Um,
did they come from clients that you'd worked with over the years?
So actually, the first guy that came in and did our first, say, 50 million with us, he was our old. He owned the brokerage that we used to work for
Oh,
together.
nice.
So he's a large single family home and lot developer on the Gulf Coast. And so yeah, it was great partner. Still is a great partner. We still own those buildings together. They're
Yeah.
great partners. We have some other guys that we have since done some co GP stuff with. So that's definitely helped. I will say cash flow is definitely one of those things in this business that we did not anticipate, just being blunt, on the front end, as difficult as it is, because you start doing more and more deals and your acquisition fees end up equaling essentially your co-invest. So yes, while you bought a deal and you might get 150, 200 grand of revenue, that's going directly back into the deals, but you still have to pay the salaries of all the employees. So that is something
Mhm.
that has been interesting to work through. And as we look to start transitioning some of our deals, selling some of our deals to be able to, we'll start hitting promotes and that'll alleviate. But that's been an interesting learning curve that we did not see on the front end. So
You
anybody
kind of
looking to get on the
anticipated
principal
it'd
side,
be flush with cash for the cash flow, and there are a few
yeah,
expenses in there that one doesn't anticipate all the time. Or
exactly. Or just co-invest in general. The co-invest is really where it all goes, right? So you got to get creative around that and be able to bring partners into your GP sleeve sometimes to be able to help fund that. And so we have done some of that stuff as well.
very cool, Grant. So over the
Mhm.
next year to 2 years, where are you guys in Stoic heading? What are the goals?
Yeah. So we did a friends and family fund earlier this year on the capital raising side, which has been good. And then we also this year, really in the past probably 6 months, have done some more like institutional quality deals with some larger JV or larger family office type clients. And so looking forward, we're going to continue to do institutional size deals with those guys. But then also on the retail side, we are about to launch a new fund that will be all in the broker dealer, registered investment advisor kind of space, which is
Hmm.
really interesting because that's always the space that we saw as where a lot of the money is, right? You talk to anybody who's a accredited investor, for the most part, they have an investment advisor of some capacity. And so we always saw, trillions of dollars sitting out there and how to access that. So being able to learn that space a little bit, how to go through those channels and those wholesaling agreements and those broker dealer agreements, it's a really interesting space to learn. But we're excited about it. We think it's going to be a good avenue for us on the retail side. So we kind of like to have both buckets, right? Like you need to have your big investors that can write $3 to $5 million equity checks, but you also
Yeah,
need to be able to go raise 50 or $100,000 checks from doctors and lawyers as well, right? Like you got to have both buckets.
right.
So that's the big thing. So that's where our equity would come from, and then we'll go by probably next year we aim to buy about 12 new assets, which will be about 1 million square feet. Is kind of our goal for next year. So about 100 million in assets under management next year added. We currently own about, as of this Friday, I guess we'll own about 106. So we'll try to double again next year, which would be good.
Nice. Well, that
Mhm.
sounds like fantastic goals and aspirations. Just out of curiosity, the name of the company, Stoic. How did you
Yeah.
guys decide on that word to represent?
So we were trying to brainstorm stuff. Jeremy actually came up with it, but it made sense. I mean, the more we looked into it, like the way we look at stoicism is kind of keeping your head down, powering through. Anyone that's in the real estate game can tell you everything that will go wrong goes wrong, right? And so being able to keep your head down, stay serious about it, not get emotional about the situation, just focus on the issue and the problem or how to fix the issue is very important. So that's how we came up with Stoic Equity Partners. It is sometimes aspirational. There are certain times where, something will be blowing up and someone's freaking out a little bit. It's like, hey, we're stoked. We gotta
We got
chill
to be
out a little
Stoic.
bit.
That's
We gotta
the
be
name of the
stoked.
company.
Exactly.
It's a good name. I like that name. It
Thank you.
really says a lot there. Awesome,
Yeah.
Grant. Well, hey, you guys are up to some really cool stuff, and I commend you. And it sounds like you got big plans moving ahead. If people want
Gotcha.
to connect with you and find out more about what you're up to, where should they go?
Yeah, so our website is Stoic EP, so STOICEP.com. My email is on there, but my email is greaves, GREAVES at stoicep.com. That's the best way to get in touch with me. I am on LinkedIn. I don't know my link there, but I am on LinkedIn if you look me up. And yeah, those are the best places, LinkedIn and email.
Awesome. Well, thank you
Yeah.
very much for being on the show, and everybody else, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the
Thank you for
next one.
having me.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now, at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.